Roll call.
Chisel. Neal. Olson.
Here.
Luce.
Here.
Zittergruen. Hadley.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Okay. I am making a proclamation for Water and Wastewater Workers of Iowa Week, which will be celebrated August 20th to the 26th, but decided to put it through early. Whereas the state of Iowa's wealth of natural resources has been threatened by the degradation of surface and groundwater, and whereas the water and wastewater workforce of Iowa have dedicated themselves to applying environmental passion and science to enhance drinking and recreational waters of Iowa, and whereas the applied environmentalism continues to be a vital element in improving the quality of life and preserving and protecting public health in our state and promoting sustainability in our way of living. I therefore proclaim August 20th, 20th to the 26th, 2023 as Water and Wastewater Workers of Iowa Week. Thank you for your work that you do for us. We think about it every day when we run the water and flush the toilets. I say that with all due respect. Okay, public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the council about anything that is not on the agenda? Seeing and hearing none, consent agenda.
Item A, minutes of the July 17, 2023 regular meeting. B, claims. C, resolution setting public hearing for easement agreement with 307 Oak Street. D, resolution ordering sidewalk improvements. E, change order number 1 for Decorah 2022 PC patching project. F, pay application number 3 for Decorah 2022 PC patching project. G, resolution accepting Decorah 2022 PC patching project as complete. H, change order number 1 for Decorah 2023 Steyr Bridge repair project. I, pay application number 2 final for Decorah 2023 Steyr Bridge repair project. J, resolution accepting Decorah 2023 Steyr Bridge repair project as complete. K, resolution setting public hearing for the Decorah EOC 911 dispatch shelter generator project. L, renewal of Class C retail alcohol license with Sunday sales for Impact Coffee. M, amendment of Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service for Impact Coffee. N, new special Class C alcohol license with outdoor service for Luther College Center for Faith and Life. O, renewal Class C alcohol license for Corner Bar. P, renewal special Class C retail alcohol license for Fairfield Marriott Decorah. Q, new Class E retail alcohol license for Quickstar at 306 College Drive. R, renewal Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service, living quarters, and catering for Rubaiyat. S, renewal Class E retail alcohol license for Walmart Supercenter. And T, renewal Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service and catering for Toppling Goliath Brewing Company.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Olson, seconded by Johnson to accept the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing seen none. Roll call.
Olson.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Motion carried. Conduct public hearing on amending Title 17 zoning of the Municipal Code of the City of Decorah related to Section 17.53.020 storage and residential properties. Want to give some background on that?
Sure, so I'll combine the background of this with the action item, which is number 7 on the agenda.
Okay.
So the proposed change in the section of code, this section prohibits the placement and usage of storage containers, or what we would call, cargo containers, shipping containers, prohibits their use on residential lots. So the proposed change would actually insert a paragraph E that in the prohibition of these storage containers in residential districts and allow for them to be used as a construction material as part of a construction project. City Code 1512 is Decorah's building code and includes the International Building Code 2015 edition, which does not talk about the use of storage containers. However, the 2021 edition of the IBC does talk about it. So this proposed change would adopt section 3115 of the IBC 2021 edition as it relates to the use of storage containers only. So it's not updating for the rest of the building codes, just for the use of storage containers. And even though that, exterior wall coverings as well as roof coverings are addressed in that code section, in discussions with John, we thought it best to add for emphasis so it's very clear up front. This code section also includes that the storage container must have an exterior wall covering and roof covering. So you can't just plop a storage container on a lot, cut a door on it, cut in some windows, and call it a day.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Come up to the podium, state your name and address. Seeing and hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider ordinance amending Title 17, as I had listed previously. This is the first reading.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made by Chisel, seconded by Olson. Any discussion?
I have seen where someone has used these in a construction project and then used the top of the container as a deck because it's already a tight steel roof. I see that it requires roof coverings. Is that, if businesses have if things have flat roofs and you have a rooftop deck, would decking be considered a roof covering if it's a rooftop deck?
Not that I expect, Greg, you to know this off the top of your head, since it's not actually part of our code yet, but I would believe that would be covered, like you were saying. It's a deck. It's less an actual roof at this point and more so an actual use, the deck use. Would you weigh in?
Yeah, I would think, as long as you're not leaving it just as the steel that's there, and you put a composite material or something else on it,
That'd be a roof covering.
Okay, that was all I think that this is a potentially affordable solution for an ADU. If it's done aesthetically, I like the way the code handles everything other than, that was just my concern that it would be required to have a pitched roof or something like that. But if it allows just coverage, then I'm good with it.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call?
Chisel?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider an ordinance, Chapter 2.02 of the Municipal Code of the City of Decorah regarding mayor and council compensation. First reading. Can you give some background on that, please?
Yes. So back in 2002, when the council discussed the non-union and supervisory personnel pay plan, this came up as consideration of the council. Excuse me. And so the council's current pay is with the mayor making $400 per month, so $4,800 annually, and council members are paid $50 per meeting attended, special, regular, but it does not include other committee meetings as a whole. So personnel committee work sessions, whether they're budget work sessions or something otherwise. And so that came up as part of the discussion item. Drafted for consideration at this point is an ordinance that would insert that language of compensation for council for any meeting of the whole, whether it is regular special meetings, work sessions, personnel committee meeting, and has blanks right now. For the mayor shall receive a salary of blank dollars per month, and also has in it as proposed, but not currently, an automatic increase. So the salary shall increase annually in the amount of blank. That blank can be a fixed dollar amount, it can be a fixed percentage, it can reference a different percentage such as the CPI, or also the across the board percentage increase that's part of the union contract, that could also be referenced.
Now, when we're talking about personnel committee meetings, obviously, we're all members of that, but more often than not, we might meet as a personnel committee at the end of a council meeting. That wouldn't count as 2 meetings, correct?
Correct. That would be 1 meeting of the whole.
Right.
And for those that don't, we've discussed this before, the council, state code requires that the council and mayor's pay established by ordinance, and it would not go into effect until after the next election cycle. So this must be done, it cannot be done in November or December, and would not go into effect until January.
Yeah,
But there are
I know
only-
I know we've talked about this before, and I think part of the thing is when we have work sessions where they are lengthy meetings. But I know in the past, there's been various opinions of whether we should pass something on this order. Council, what are some of your thoughts?
I remember the last meeting was in February, March, something like that. We talked about it, and that's exactly what we talked about, was adding that work session thing in. And we have $50 a meeting currently, adding $50 for the work sessions where everybody's actually participates in or something like that, which I would think would be kind of in line with what I've done research on for some of the communities around this northeast Iowa area and stuff like that.
So when you look at that, would you say everything would stay the same, except for the fact that the suggestion would be that council would be paid for work sessions?
I would think that would bring us pretty much in line with what some of the other communities in northeast Iowa are compensated currently.
And you handed out the mayor and council you want to make any comments on that?
No, so what's
was
handed
it?
out, Mayor, is actually what,
Was it
as
you?
a reminder, this was used during that discussion back in 2022.
Okay,
So this is a little dated, hasn't been refreshed, but this is the handout that was used as part of that discussion.
And I guess the numbers that I looked at were I looked up Waverly, Manchester, Independence, Cresco, and Waukon. And like I said, that would pretty much bring us in line with them just by adding that $50 in there. And then the mayor's salary was a little bit less than what some of these are as well. And if you wanted to put $50 extra a month for the mayor's salary, would bring that pretty much in line as well.
and the current is $50. We're currently paid $50 for being at the council meeting, correct? For council people.
$50 per regular council meeting, right?
That's correct.
Right.
So I will point this out, just, and this also, of course, applies to every other agenda item here. With only 5 council members present, as a reminder, still takes 4 council members voting in the affirmative for an item to pass.
Okay, so tonight, if they vote on it, you'd have to have 4 voting yes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What are some of the other
Anybody
council?
else got any
people
feelings or
thoughts?
thoughts?
I don't think this is the right time to do it when we've got to increase rates on our budget for taxpayers' fees, tax departments and ask them to do with less. I think we should lead by example and just leave things the way they are.
Is there an option also to table until we have more,
Yeah, that's certainly an option.
I guess I'd like to hear what anybody else might have to say on it.
I think that the minor increase that's proposed here is certainly worth doing, and I won't be running in the fall and won't be benefiting from the increase, but I think that city council people and the mayor spend an awful lot of time, and being compensated just for those few extra meetings of work sessions, I think is a small amount to compensate for the time that's spent.
Yeah, I guess I don't see it really as a raise, because we're not raising our rates. We're just recognizing the fact that we meet as a full council more than we are paid. And I don't think that we have enough work sessions that it's really my projected difference was like maybe $200 a year, because we have roughly 4 work sessions. If we look at if we look at historical averages and whatnot, because we don't always have work sessions. So I would support the pay for work sessions, but not an increase in our compensation for sessions.
so,
Some of the towns in the neighborhood around here have 3 actual council meetings per month, so that's why their compensation is a little bit higher, so we'd be kind of in line with what they.
But if we don't have them,
Right,
we're
exactly.
not taking the
getting
money.
paid.
Yeah.
Exactly right. I guess if nobody else has anything more to say about it, I would make a motion to table this, because we have 2 council members that are not here, just because I'm sure they'd want to have input into this as well.
I'll second that.
so I have a motion from Olson, seconded from Johnson to table until the other council members are here. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Olson,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Luce,
No.
Hadley,
Aye.
Chisel. So the motion to table fails.
Okay. Can you advise me then
So I would encourage further discussion,
okay,
and then a potential first reading thrown out there. Otherwise, would you consider it a dead and not eligible unless it's brought up for reconsideration? Or would you say it's just dead until I have 2 council members tell me to put it back on?
I would say it can be brought back because if it was.
It was not defeated.
Right, and if it was defeated, the people that defeated it could bring it back, so it doesn't make sense. If it just dies, then nobody could bring it back.
so actually, the suggestion would be to have a motion made to,
I would put that to the mayor and council. So again,
Okay.
if a motion and a second is made and that motion is defeated, then that consideration cannot be brought back in front of the council unless it's a motion to reconsider by somebody of the prevailing party.
okay,
However, if no motion is made, no second, so that there is no motion that is considered and potentially fails, any 2 council members can request this to be placed on any subsequent agenda, just like this originally got on the agenda.
okay.
I got nothing. Nope. No, I have nothing. I'm not saying anything.
I'd move that the addition of all council meetings, whole council meetings, be included in the pay.
So, I'm not actually hearing any motion that's coming forward, is that that correct? Or did you make that as a motion?
Did I not say I move that?
You did, no, but be specific. Are you talking about motioning that $50 a meeting for all meetings of the whole, like we've been talking about, plus $5,200 for the mayor? Is that what you're saying? A complete motion for
My
those?
motion was to include meetings of the whole into the pay schedule.
So for the council members, that would be $50 per meeting, and the drafted language as suggested, or as in the draft ordinance. However, the mayor's compensation is fixed monthly. It is not based on meetings. So if an increase is to be considered as part of the mayor's compensation, that does not base on meetings. So that's, I believe, where Kirk was asking.
I'm
if
asking you
that's
to
50.
clarify further, because the motion, we need to set salaries for both of, or all of us, I
Right,
should say.
right.
Right.
Are you including the mayors in there, Steve? Because I think we need to, in your motion.
Are you making a motion?
Well,
No, he's asking.
No, I'm asking you to clarify yours, because you just talked about council salaries, not the mayor's, and the mayor needs to be included in this particular motion.
The mayor's salary is $400 per month, there's nothing per meeting on her salary,
Right.
so,
But we're talking about,
right,
yeah,
right. So
And-
he's asking you to clarify, Steve, your motion, whether you want to include something for the mayor in your motion.
I'd include that the mayor's salary be increased according to the consumer price index increase.
so, and that's part of your motion. Do we have a
Is
motion?
that clear, Kirk?
I have a motion on the floor, but you don't, it's still working on clarification. We haven't had a second.
I guess I'm at, I mean, right now, she's at $400 per month. It's $4,800 now, and what we talked about some time ago was raising that from 4,800 to 5,200 for the year. And the consumer price index and all of that, that's a lot of calculating. I guess I would prefer a motion about it with a solid number, just like ours.
Well, there's no second on what I've said.
Right. Well, then I will make a motion.
Okay, let me just clarify
So
this.
if there's no second, and the mayor says no second has been called, then
Okay.
that motion, it doesn't fail, but
It just dies for a
Dies.
lack of a second.
Vice for lack of a
Okay.
second.
then Kirk can make a motion.
Well,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay,
I will
that-
make a motion that
Let
we,
me state that the motion has failed for lack of a second.
all right.
Now, do you?
I make a motion that city council salary or pay gets set at $50 per meeting of the whole, and that the mayor receives $5,200 per year.
Motion made by Johnson,
Second?
seconded by Olson,
Seconded by Luce.
or Luce, sorry. Any further discussion? Roll call?
All right, just making sure I got my order here correct. All right, Johnson,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Chisel, Olson.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. And that's for the first reading, so the second one reading will be at the next meeting.
Correct.
Consider resolution approving agreement with Carlson Park Trail Coalition Agreement. Can you give some background on that, please?
Yes, so we've got a group of residents who wish to raise funds for improvements out at Carlson Park. And they have named themselves the Carlson Park Trail Coalition, where they would use the Northeast Iowa Community Foundation as a medium to raise these funds. The agreement's meant to formalize their intentions and indicate that the council's receptive to this group soliciting for funds to be raised for future city improvements to the park. And did want to point out, so as part of this consideration, this group, while not part of the city, will essentially be raising funds for the city and basically represented as such. John did have one or two concerns he wanted to point out. One was possibly just making clearer that under section 1.1, it talks about the fundraising group agrees to undertake fundraising efforts with the aim of raising funds for the construction of improvements at Carlson Park as agreed upon by the city, but explicitly stating as agreed upon by the city council, because the council has to authorize that construction and those improvements. So we did want to insert that there. Other thing you wanted to point out is, so on the liability provision, on the indemnification provision and agreeing to hold harmless, we don't explicitly state in the agreement itself who these members are of the Carlson Park Trail Coalition. So that was something John had pointed out.
Can you tell me which number that is in this, where that's
On the
located?
indemnification.
3.1.
Oh, I see it, okay, thank you.
This has to do with it, as far as I know, it's not an actual formal entity. So who's indemnifying the city? And I don't know what big risk there is there. I just pointed out. It's not like it's a nonprofit corporation.
Okay. Can you give an example, or Andy, give an example where this type of setup has been used in the past for raising funds?
So we set this up to mirror Trout Run Trail.
Okay.
And what was done there, where, a
Did
private
we-
group of citizens.
Within the Trout Run Trail agreement, did we name the members of the Trout Run Trail Committee in a 2080? Because 2080 groups' board makeups would change, right? So
Right.
whoever's indemnifying would be the group, not the individuals, right?
But the 28E would be with a group that is formally established as a nonprofit, a 501c3 or something similar. And the understanding is, as I have it, is that this is not a formal LLC or
Right,
incorporation.
but this is a fund. This is a fund within a 501c, whatever the Northeast Iowa Community Foundation is, right? It's a fund
It'll be a
within, it's a
fund
managed
within.
fund within that organization.
Correct.
And we're signing this agreement basically with the fund.
The agents of the fund is, this is not necessarily an agreement with Northeast Iowa Community Foundation, and it is the agents that will be doing the fundraising efforts, that they're simply using the fund as their medium.
Going back to the Trout Run Trail, as I recall, the group that we called ourselves then was TOW. Trails of Winneshiek was the group that that went on the private fundraising. So that's the same, essentially, the mirror image of what this Carlson Park Trail Coalition is. They're a group of citizens. They will probably grow in numbers as they're raising money, and they will probably include more and more volunteers over the time that they're raising money. I am curious as to what do they have an established goal or amount of money that they hope to raise for the
Either
project?
Andy, I know Benji is on also.
I will point out, so as part of the fiscal '24 budget, that did include Carlson Park Trail improvements it had both 100,000 in grant revenues and a minimum, if I remember correctly, 100,000 in private donations, right? Andy, 100,000?
Similar, yeah, I don't remember exactly, but yes.
So they're trying to raise $100,000.
That would be correct. So
Maybe more, but not less.
Is there a
Okay.
project especially that they got planned to do with that money? Or?
Yep, and that's gone through council at budget time.
Okay.
A gateway into the northwest
Okay.
corner of the.
Yep.
So this has come about after setting this up. The mayor and I, talking with Community Foundation, suggested there should be some type of an agreement. And we might have come to that when we went to Travis anyway, but that was at the recommendation of Kay Eglin and Terry Gomer, our representatives on the Community Foundation Board, so.
Hadley will make a motion to approve with the friendly amendments made by Travis and John regarding the 2 words that were left out.
I will second that motion.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Olson to include the suggestions.
Sorry, I had one more suggestion.
Oh.
I apologize for getting on
Including the
before, after the
suggestions.
motion was made, but one other suggestion I had was in section 5, that the agreement be terminable at will without cause by either party. And if you want to put 30 days notice, that's fine. But right now, it can only be terminated if there's a breach. So, again, I don't know what can go wrong. What can go wrong, you know?
Right.
I mean, that's what, but if there is something, then we want to be able to get out of it without too much hassle.
You're
Well,
talking,
and hypothetically, if the fundraising group isn't able to raise their goal, it talks about that the other expiration is if they are successful in raising their goal. So the only way out is either they get it done and projects happen, or somebody breaches contract. So hypothetically, if things don't go right, we're both in this contract until it goes right.
So is there any wordage change or additions on that then? Or is it covered under those 2
that
items?
That would be
5.2.
7.3, John? 30 days notice?
5.2,
5.2. Yeah.
Okay.
either party may terminate this
Oh, okay,
agreement
gotcha.
with 30 days written notice
Okay.
without cause. I guess I'd leave it like that.
You want to change your motion to include that?
No, but I will accept the additional language
Okay.
as per city attorney.
And I will second that with that in there.
Okay, further discussion? Roll call?
Hadley,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel, Luce.
Aye.
Thanks to all the people that stepped forward to do that, too.
That's
Mo-
right.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.
We can get a thermometer.
Yeah. Exactly, right, yeah. Put it up in the wall.
Yeah, yeah. Resolution accepting sidewalk easement at 209 College Drive.
So 209 College Drive is Pulpit Rock Brewing, and that northwest quadrant there, that corner is really heavily congested with utilities, whether it's the light pole, there's all kinds of fiber in that corner there. And so the owner has agreed to provide an easement to the city of 12 and a half square feet that would allow for us to do sidewalk improvements to connect College Drive sidewalk with Fifth Avenue and not have to deal with all that underground garbage there.
Hadley will make a motion to accept the sidewalk easement at 209 College Drive.
Second.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Olson to accept the easement at 209 College Drive. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Hadley,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel, Luce.
Aye.
Motion carried. Considered $150,000 payment to WCDT to fulfill Sunflower Discovery Center pledge. Can you give background on that?
Yes, so if council recalls, a $500,000 total dollar amount was pledged to Winnebago County Development and Tourism on behalf of Sunflower Discovery Center. And we still have a remaining balance of $150,000. The pledge was made to be over the extent of 5 years with no definitive, this is when we're gonna make the payment. That was not part of the motion, nor was it where are the funds going to come from. If you remember during budget discussions, we did incorporate the final $150,000 contribution out of ARPA, COVID-related funds. This meets their requirement, as well as those do have a time period. So this will get us off the books as it relates to Sunflower as a payable, as well as meet a timeline for the use of those ARPA funds as well.
Why would remind me why the money would go to WCDT, not to Sunflower directly?
I'm not sure why it served as the pass-through. I believe, I know that's how it's been done in the past, so we followed a similar model in case there was some rationale that we were not aware of. But the previous allocations went to Winnebago County Development and Tourism for that.
So it's like a pass-through with distinction that it is for Sunflower.
Did we have a similar agreement with WCDT for this money that we did, like kind of what we just did with the Carlson Park?
No,
Um,
no.
Okay.
This would have been just from, what's it been, 20 or 21? Early 21?
the council just made
Mid
it.
21, council's action to pledge 500,000.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if there's a protocol and a precedent, I just want to make sure we're,
Yeah. No, this would be more on the expense side and similar to, well, I guess we haven't been doing financial contributions to nonprofits.
And part of the difference here for the prior action, that was people raising money on behalf of the city, where this is, we're providing money to a different
Right, but
entity.
when we've given money to other nonprofits, we've had to have a 2080 recently, right?
Right.
Do we have a 2080 with,
I don't think the original motion had,
No,
it did not have one.
it was more of just a grant. But I think we had language, I'd have to go back and look, but I wonder if in the resolution itself, we had some of that language we use in our resolutions for 2080 about serving a certain purpose for economic development. I'd have to look at that.
it's only because we're paying a third-party entity for a project that's not theirs. We don't have a 2080 for this specific project, and we didn't just do something like we just did. So,
I think it's because they did the grants all went through WCDT, I believe.
right, but we're not a grant, right?
Correct, but they might have used our money to.
Sure.
To leverage the money.
And I'm not saying it's wrong, Chopper. I'm just saying, if we've had to do 2080s, and I just want to make sure it's at Hoyle, that we're, other than just paying an invoice, because if we're just paying an invoice, it makes it simple.
I'd have to go back and see what that original council action was.
I trust that Winnebago County Development will use this money for the Sunflower Discovery Center. And I would move that we pay the $150,000 to them to fulfill the Sunflower Discovery Center pledge.
Second?
Motion made by Johnson, seconded by Chisel. Any further discussion?
Just put Sunflower Discovery Center on the memo, I guess.
I'm sure, my guess
I
is
think it's
that when they
included. I
were-
think it's explicit with my motion that that's where the money is for.
Okay. I also wonder when they applied for grants, that documentation would have been there too. Okay, roll call?
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel, Olson,
Aye.
Luce, Hadley.
Aye.
Motion carried. Acceptance of Decorah Drinking Water Protection Plan, final report.
Okay, so this is follow-up to those that attended the utility committee meeting prior to the last council meeting. So this action here is more an accept and file of the full final report and all their findings, but there will be additional future items that council will have to consider, primarily the wellhead protection area and establish new map, as well as any regulations within that wellhead protection area. So this item here is more of just an accept and file.
Motion to approve the drinking water protection plan, final report.
Second.
Motion made by, Motion made by Olson, seconded by Luce. Further discussion? Roll call?
Olson,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel.
Motion carried. Award of wayfinding study proposal.
Okay, if you can remember way back when, this was actually part of fiscal 23's budget, but the winter ate up some of our funding there, so we had to kind of hold off until we entered into this fiscal year. But staff did get 2 proposals for doing a wayfinding study. This would identify all the existing inventory on our main corridors, come up with different needs, as well as develop a strategy to improve the signage in Decorah for all modes of transportation. Northeast Iowa RC&D responded with a proposal of $15,000. Upper Explorer Land proposal was $15,225. However, the actual cost of the city will be $11,418 because there's a 25% match that Upper Explorer Land has available through USDA. And so the one proposal from Upper Explorer Land talks about time frame of 6 to 9 months. Jeremy did get notification from Northeast Iowa's RC&D that they would be able to get started on it, let's see here, later this summer or early fall, with estimated completion date of early 2024. Upper Explorer Land said they would start later this fall or early 2024 is more realistic, but they may be able to move some things around if we wanted to start sooner. And they expected 6 to 9 months to complete the project.
So RC&D was a little quicker.
RC&D was a little quicker. Total was 15,000. Upper Explorer Land take a little bit more time. 11,418 city cost.
I would make a motion to award the wayfinding to Upper Explorer Land, since it's a little bit cheaper.
Second.
Motion made by Olson, seconded by Luz, to accept the Upper Explorer Land bid.
I just wonder if that is going to allow us to put things in the ground next summer. It's kind of been my internal goal. I know RC&D has done some work for parks on Ice Cave Road. Andy, do you know when those are going to be done?
Signage?
Mm-hmm. Soon. Okay. Because if Upper Explorer Land picks up, let's say it's start in January and it's 6 to 9 months, we're out of the budget year and we're out of the, we're nearing, if there's any production delay, we're another year out. But if RC&D, who has done a lot of the other signage for the city and wayfinding on the trails and whatnot, can pull the trigger and have it ready for production in the winter, so we're ready to place them in the summer. I know it's more money, but it might align more with construction seasons.
Well, currently you have a motion for Upper Explorer Land. So you'd have to vote on that first. If you choose to go with the other one, then don't vote for it.
Is it possible
Hopefully
that
we don't.
either of them would not get done by next summer if they have?
Well, if they don't start until January and it's a 6 to 9 month period, that's
That's past the
June
summer.
to September. And then you have to make the signs, right? Like that's, because you have to But if they can have, if RC&D can get the signs design done by February and then make them, then we're ready for the construction season. That was my thought. Because we've, this has been part of that visioning project that the mayor and I and Jeremy and a bunch of people worked on 4 years ago,
Long time.
it would just be another year, and I would rather not push back another year.
I think we need to go with the lowest bid, but, and hope that we can push them to get it done by next summer.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Well, the good news is if we end up on a 3-2 with both of these, anybody can bring it back for reconsideration. Both sides will lose. Right, John? Perfect.
All right, so, roll call.
Olson,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye, but please push them.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel.
Motion carried. And when you go back, maybe perhaps when you go back to talk to them, let them know what the discussion was from the council.
Will do.
Okay. Consider approving agreement with the Boy Scouts of America, Troop 66.
Okay, so the city received a request from Boy Scout Troop 66 to place a can bin in the gravel 48 lot across the street here by the recycling dumpsters. And the Boy Scouts currently pick up the debris and stuff over there. And so we have formulated this to be an agreement where we would allow the can bin to be placed there for their continued removal of all the debris and cleaning up around the site in general. And signage, the bin, both need to be approved by the city manager. I've had some conversations with the scoutmaster, and one of the areas that John and I had discussed was glass. If they take glass, that can sometimes become an issue. And we were wondering about writing into the agreement, but then we talked about the signage that has to be approved by the city manager, so we would say the sign would just say no glass.
Okay.
So that's how, if it became an issue, because the scouts don't want to deal with glass if it's a problem either, but quite frankly, they already deal with broken glass in the lot, and so their hope is that this might actually alleviate, if they try it, it might alleviate some of that, where people would be more respectful of placing it there.
So remind me, does it specifically state in this agreement no glass?
It does not,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
We would invoke the provision, I guess, that says the city manager needs to approve the sign, and I would tell them
Okay.
that their sign needs to say no glass.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made by Chisel, second by Olson. Further discussion? Roll call?
Chisel, Olson,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Motion carried. I
And-
really
And thank them for their
appreciate-
work, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the work that they do over there. Okay, we do have a vacancy on the Board of Adjustment, and remind me, I know it's tweet, is it Keith? Or is it Kevin?
Craig.
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 That's right, thank you. Is choosing to get off. So if you are interested in being on the Board of Adjustment, please go online, fill out the application, and get it to Carrie. Anything else?
And do you want to set a deadline, Mayor?
What do you suggest?
That's what I was just pulling up. If you want to set the 31st, that's just a nice, hard and fast, easy to remember deadline. That would allow us to get it on the agenda for the first meeting in September.
Okay, deadline would be August 31st. Okay, city manager report?
A couple of quick items here. One, signs in the right-of-way. I'll be sending out some notifications, making contacts this week. I've noticed an uptick, as well as we've received some complaints on Water Street as well about signage in the right-of-way, whether it's entering into the 4-foot wide pedestrian access that needs to be maintained, as well as if you are a business, you cannot place a sign 2 blocks away to direct traffic to your business. Our sign ordinance prohibits that. And so gonna make some context there. Let's see, also, the city has been requested to serve as an intermediary as an applicant for the EECBG. It's an energy community block grant, and what it would do is help finance Winnebago County, now I'm drawing a blank on it. The electric. Winnebago County Energy District. There
Okay.
it is. Thank you. Help provide them funding for energy efficient programs through low moderate income individuals. This would have no cost to the city. We would serve as an intermediary, but we need to be the applicant. That application isn't due until August 21st, if I'm remembering correctly, but that is our next council meeting. So wanted to make council aware of that application.
Did we do that when they first set up?
That's my understanding,
Okay.
is that's how, if it didn't get its start, it was certainly a help.
Okay.
In its infancy. And then, last item I have, first council meeting in September will be the 5th because of Labor Day on the 4th. So we'll put it on the consent agenda for the next meeting to formally set it as the 5th.
Which is Tuesday.
Correct.
Anything else?
That's all I got.
Carrie? Anything else from the department heads? Okay. Randy?
I have nothing this evening, Mayor.
Kirsten?
Sticking with the mayor's theme of good news, my wife and I have been working at the visitor center off and on throughout the summer. On 3 different occasions, we've had couples that have come in. One had family living in the area, and they've decided to relocate to Decorah. The second couple had about 12 communities on their list that they traveled around to and visited before they were making a decision of where to relocate. And when they got to Decorah, they said, we don't need to see any more of them. We're going to settle down here in Decorah. So they chose Decorah. And the last couple, they're coming from Ohio, and their boss had recommended they come up because they both work remotely from home or at home. And their boss recommended they come up to Decorah and check it out, and they loved the place, and they also chose to relocate here. They have yet to be able to find housing, but I assured them we would be working on that to try to get more housing available. And my wife and I will be going down to Des Moines this weekend for working for the visitor center down there for the Northeast Iowa booth, so.
I really appreciate your work on that. Maybe you could work another couple days
Yeah,
and get
exactly.
a
Get
few
some
more
more
people coming in. Well, I appreciate you going down to Des Moines and also working at the visitor center. I did receive from the Iowa Economic Development Authority that the Decorah Hospital at 305 Montgomery has been approved property to be listed in the National Register for Historic Places effective June 20th, 2003. I'll give this to you too. Steve Lutz.
There was a SMID meeting last Wednesday, and consideration was given toward the improvement of the grassway, the green strips along College Drive, and how that's coming, and the idea there's still some funding available about some planters along that strip, and what to do, whether to do a cement heavy that's moved or wooden structure. Reference was made to the galvanized that Pulpit Rock has at their place, and also up at the dentist office or chiropractic, right? That those style might be sort of a blend of all of those would match more like along that area. Quick Star has a wide grassway on their side of College Drive. The city grassway is much narrower, but it is something.
Good.
They did have a snafu with some watering not getting done and some plants that therefore perished and needed to be replaced, and so that was taken care of and made to look spiffy and nice for Nordic Fest.
Ross?
I had a chance to meet with Jeremy Brill this week, prior to him heading out on vacation. We just started looking at the new state pavement condition index report from the DOT and started to look at some drainage issues and things like that in preparation for getting ready the street plans for next year. I want to have a street committee meeting because we would like to get the street plan for next year resolved before Halloween. So we'd like to move it up so we can do more pre-engineering over the winter. So that was interesting. And while I was there, Jeremy was showing me the signage that Andean Parks have initiated for Ice Cave Road. And it's been kind of a pet project of mine, especially after having encountered people who didn't understand the road closures and didn't know that you just couldn't not get to Ice Cave into Dunnings from different ways. So thanks to the park group for moving that forward and improving our areas, and we'll support however we can.
Okay. Kurt?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Okay, anything else? Okay, so moved. Thank you very much.